What about the W? What about the W? What about women in sport? Maybe the best way for me to introduce this question is to tell you what it feels like when I ask it. I'm from a Gaelic Games background, a little hurling and camogie club, Ballinderry in South Galway on the west coast of Ireland. I was an average player, so while my ambition would have been to achieve on the field, I quickly realised any influence I would have would be off it. So over time, I've spent a good bit of time in meeting rooms on those sometimes dreaded committees, sitting with local volunteers, county chairpersons, national CEOs, government ministers, other experts in their field. In these environments, my message has been simple and consistent. I always ask that question, what about the women? In many instances, I start to see some shuffling, I hear some excuses, I sit in some awkward silence, and I even get to see some eyes roll. And often I'm a little bit disappointed about the consideration given to the question I have asked. To my embarrassment, I sometimes preface my question with an apology such as, I'm sorry to ask this, or you probably don't have any money, or I know I'm a plague, but... I sometimes think if I had time to build my case, if I could share the why around women in sport, then I wouldn't have to feel so apologetic, and I might even get more buy-in from people in the room. So here is what I would say if I had the floor. Gender inequality in sport is deep-rooted and deeply complex. When asked to give advice to a room full of women in sport diehards, I once heard someone say, have your breakfast, it's going to be a very long day. And that's because a gendered environment pervades across all sport, including the sport that I love, Gaelic Games. I would like now to prove this to you. Here's a photo taken at the back of the Cusack stand at our national stadium, Croke Park. It's a mural of different personalities in Gaelic Games. How many women can you see? There are just 2, and over 60 men. Now, however unconscious this is, and whatever the lack of intent to be disrespectful, this is a simple example of how a historically male-oriented sports system has failed to consider or include women to the extent that it could or should. Let me share more, because this story actually begins at infancy, when we engage in stereotypical play with babies. My nephew's first word was ball, my nieces love unicorns, both in houses that push against gender roles. Parents often expect more for their sons in sport. In fact, research in Gaelic Games tells us that boys are about age 6 when they start playing, and girls are nearly 1 year older when they go down to their local club. When they get there, coaches of girls are generally less qualified and have less coaching and playing experience, which means that right from the outset of their life in sport, girls are playing catch-up. This is even more frustrating when you think that nearly all 10 to 12-year-old boys and girls on the island of Ireland play sport at least once weekly. We do a brilliant job of getting girls into sport, but the foundational experience we give them means that almost 30%, almost 1 in 3, drop out after this point. And there are many reasons why. Firstly, and back to Gaelic Games, girls have less playing opportunities than boys, particularly in school and in talent development settings. Girls play less, they practice less in their own time. They do less and they start later at strength training. And they have less access to sports science and medicine personnel throughout their lifetime in sport. All of these things can make girls feel less competent and confident in sport, which impacts their fun and enjoyment. These are among the biggest predictors of dropout in youth sport. And there's more. Girls have many sex-specific experiences that we don't really understand in the context of sport. Girls actually start puberty earlier than boys. They develop breasts, they have periods, some have really challenging menstrual cycles, they have pelvic floor issues, some might have fertility issues. Many women get pregnant, and then you have the many stages and phases of menopause. Should girls and women play sport at all? Some colleagues and I were interested in how women feel in this sports system. So we engage with over 450 women from across Gaelic Games, players, coaches, staff, volunteers, to understand their experiences in their sport. Over half told us that they do not feel seen or heard, maybe challenging that GAA motto of "we all belong." Many more told us they don't feel valued or respected or taken seriously in their sport. And in their words, not ours, they had to fight for fairness. Many women do feel supported by men in Gaelic Games, but this is often in reactive, tokenistic ways, rather than ways that challenge or disrupt the system. Many of you might know that Gaelic Games is going through systemic change at the minute, where 3 single-sex sporting organisations are coming together into one organisation that will be underpinned by the principle of gender equality. The message from our work is clear. This integration process must go much deeper than practical considerations such as sharing pitches or joint men and women's fixtures calendar. While these are all very valuable actions, it must work to challenge deeply embedded gender norms, and it must include a system-wide strategy for women in Gaelic Games that everybody owns and that everybody is responsible for. I love Gaelic Games. I'm one of its biggest fans. I know it can be better, and it can bring about transformative change for girls and women in sport and indeed across society. Just imagine for a second, if all girls and women who play, coach, lead, volunteer, work in Gaelic Games were understood, supported, developed, and acknowledged to the extent that they could or should be. I think that mural would instinctively look very different. Mary Robinson, in her inauguration speech as President of Ireland, said that in electing her, the women of Ireland, instead of rocking the cradle, had rocked the system. Our sports system almost plays against girls and women. We need systemic change in sport. I believe that starts with asking one simple question: what about the women? Things don't change if we don't pay attention to them, if we don't challenge them. I firmly believe change is inevitable. I just wish it wouldn't take so long. I heard recently, and it stuck with me, it's not about being right in 20 years, it's about being right now. So my call to action to you is, please, any chance you get, ask that question, what about the women in sport? And let's never again apologise for trying to give girls and women a better choice and a better chance in sport. Thank you.